19-yard field goal attempt. Oh, it is fumbled by Romo, and then Romo's going to run to the end zone, and he's going to get tackled by Jordan Babineau. Amazing.
Welcome to another fine edition of It's a Sports Show. Scott Cray alongside me as always, Dolphin Paul. And Dolphin, 4 big games last weekend. That Tony Romo clip said it all right there. I mean, that was like the highlight of the entire weekend, I think.
Absolutely. Exciting
Unless you were
football.
Tony Romo.
Oh, man. I mean, and we'll get to that game because that's a game, one of those games that live in infamy.
We're going to briefly talk about the games this past weekend. And what people really want to hear about is obviously the upcoming games, and we'll get to that. First one we're going to talk about, because I got a hint that Mr. Eagle, John Turner, was in the next room.
In the house?
So when we get to that, we're going to talk Eagles first, just because we can bust his chop since he's here. But first, I want to talk about our new push for global
recognition.
Thank you. I was going to say domination, but...
Exciting news here on It's a Sports Show. We are now, you want me to know? I mean...
Go for it.
I'm not
Drum
very
roll,
technical.
please.
So. It's a Sports Show. Will now be on YouTube.
Worldwide.com
every week. Now, is that like a 6-minute clip or so? It's not the whole show.
Well, the deal is we got to upgrade our account, of course, but right now...
that means we have no money. We're waiting.
Maybe we'll find some donors.
Upgrade our account. What does that mean?
Here's all you need to know. Go to YouTube.com. Most of you that are into it.
YOUTUBE.
Yep.
Because a lot of people aren't familiar with YouTube.
Right.
Just want to throw that
YouTube, a big hub for all things video. And now if you go to YouTube and do a keyword search for IASS, as it says on your screen right now, that's the quickest way to find us. And it's just broken into 4 clips. It says part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. It's all seamless, and it looks spectacular.
Now, those 4 parts, is that the whole show?
That's the whole show.
Oh, I didn't even realize that myself.
Well, say if our show's like 28 minutes long when we shoot it here.
We divided by 4?
It's broken into 7 minutes or so.
Ah, I got that.
And I always try to like end the segment on a good hanging point. Some crazy good hanging point that makes people want to see.
I didn't even realize that because you told me before.
Didn't you watch them all?
Well,
I've watched them like 5-6 times each.
You're the technical guy, so when you said we could only do 6 minutes, I thought it'd be like 6-minute clips, but obviously we can put the whole show on. Unbelievable. For those of you who, well, they won't be watching this, but...
Global.
For those of you who could tell your friends who don't have Cox Cable,
right.
For instance, I get a lot of people, I say, hey, watch me on TV, because as you know, I'm very modest.
Of course you are.
You know, so
and I tell people, have a great golf game.
I got this cable company, that cable company. Now you could go right to YouTube.
So let's go through our short timeline here. We're on show number 158. So we've done 158 shows at this point. We started off just in the town of Seekonk, right here at Cable 9, where we still shoot our show and aren't going anywhere at any time. And then we went to the entire state of Rhode Island on the Interconnect, thanks to you as co-producer. And now... global world. There's people in Russia watching our show over crumpets or whatever Russian people
in Asia and
unbelievable.
He don't know what he's talking about.
Oh yeah, and I'm the one that's racy. All right, let's start things off. Let's talk about this past weekend. The way these games went, I cannot stop talking about it, even though at this point it's going to be almost a week old. We've mentioned we were going to talk about the Eagles first. Giants-Eagles. Tiki Barber's possible last game turns out to be his last game. It seemed like it was a battle of the running backs, Barber versus Westbrook, at one point in the game. What was your take on that whole game?
Well, I mean, the Giants came limping in, kind of.
Yeah, and we said that last week.
Eli Manning wasn't playing well. The Coughlin was on a hot seat. They played a team, John Turner's team, with no T.O. Well, I'll still give him credit for that T.O. call about 2 years ago. Anyway. Sure. You know, the Eagles started a little bit slow. I don't know if they, for whatever reason, Giants came down, scored. I said, wow, this is going to be a pretty good football game.
Right.
And then Garcia was playing fantastic, started to heat up.
Loving it.
But the big guy for the Eagles, and to me, he's one of the least talked about guys in the NFL, is Brian Westbrook.
Absolutely. One of the elite running backs in the NFL.
He is a tough runner.
Sure.
And it basically came down near the end, and the Eagles had a good drive at the end of the game. Just put it away. The Giants will help us. Eli Manning, he's taking a lot of heat, but he was pretty good on that last drive. They had a 3rd down. I mean, they kept getting penalty after penalty after penalty. They had at one point.
The Giants got killed on penalty.
They had like a second down and 30.
Yeah.
And Eli threw that ball, which was a great play, to Plaxico Burress, who also had a good
Well, at the time that I saw that play, it was kind of a short pass. I mean, considering the length that they had to go to, all the yards were made after the catch.
Right.
When I initially saw the play down on the sideline, I said, what the heck are they doing with a short play like that? But it turned out they knew what they were doing because did they end up with the first down or just a large gain on that
No, they
play?
ended up with the first down.
Right. So, you mentioned the Giants limping in, and the Eagles. Here's what I love about the Eagles right now. I think.
Add him on. Add him.
The Eagles are now my favorite team.
We're closing in on the league.
No, here's the thing. The best thing that could happen to the Eagles, other than Terrell Owens leaving, imagine that. The Eagles have no Terrell Owens. They go into the playoffs.
No Donovan McNabb either.
The team that has Terrell Owens is no longer in the playoffs. The best thing that happened to the Eagles was Donovan McNabb getting hurt. And the reason I say that is because when you look at how the Eagles were playing with Donovan McNabb, they relied so heavily on their star. Now that McNabb is out, they have to balance things out, bring Westbrook into the mix, and like you said, he's playing well. Garcia's got some tools. Me as a 49er fan, I know what Garcia can do, you know what I mean? So I think it allows for the Eagles offense to be a lot more balanced now, where they don't have to rely heavily on McNabb's success and or failure at that point. That's what I love about the Eagles. I love Jeff Garcia.
I would halfway agree with you that Garcia's doing a great job. And
that's pretty good.
That's because they're in the West Coast offense, which he's comfortable with, he knows, and it took him a game or two to really get going. But I just think it's the play of Brian Westbrook. I mean, as he goes, the Eagles go, and he makes it so much easier for the quarterback to have success.
But that wasn't always the case with McNabb at the helm. Westbrook was always just as good, but I think they still relied, I'd probably say 60-40, more on McNabb than Westbrook.
Well, I mean, that's possible. I mean, a lot of times when somebody goes out, the players around them have to rally, but hey, I mean, he's doing a tremendous job, and the Giants, unfortunately, their defense, I mean, they've had some injuries. In fairness to the Giants, they've been banged up down the stretch.
John Turner doesn't want to be fair to the Giants.
No, but I know a lot of people don't talk about it. And the Giants, to their credit, they tied the game there.
Yep.
But they just could not stop the Eagles. And the Eagles just kept getting first down after first down. And Akers, if he's not the top kicker in the league, he's certainly in the top three. That guy can kick from anywhere, long, short. So you knew when they got down around the 30-yard line or so that he was going to make the kick. And hey, Eagles, great story. They're hot. They move on, and they play at New Orleans this week, which is a matchup we'll get to.
That's a feel good. Real quick on that game.
Coughlin's probably going to come back for another year. That's the word, just so we can put a cap on that.
I should think so. The Giants' Tiki Barber, I'm sure now making it official. He is retiring, and probably not the way he wanted to go out. Still had a decent game.
Last few games, he's played well.
The rest of the team just couldn't do it.
He's a class act. I mean, he started off early in his career where he couldn't really. He was an okay back, like a third down back. He had all the fumbling problems.
A lot of fumbles.
One thing Tom Coughlin did when he came in is he changed the way he held the ball from here to really up here. And he's been like one of the feature backs in the NFL.
So the question is, Hall of Fame running back at this point, or did he get going too late because of all those
I don't think of him as a Hall of Famer, only because of the longevity. I mean, he definitely probably would be on his way to a Hall of Fame if he played out a few more years. But I give him credit. He's young. He says, hey, that's it for me.
He gets points for me as the whitest smile in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's got the whitest smile.
Whew, I thought you were going down a different road. I'm like,
I know you were.
Wow.
What do you want to talk about next? Colts KC sound good?
KC.
Because we can roll through this one quickly, because to me, it was the most boring game all weekend.
Most people want to hear about the Pats anyway, but Colts KC, a couple of things here. It was talked ad nauseum, including on our show, of how the Colts drew a bad seed, bad team, and that Kansas City could run the ball real well. And all week it was talked about.
Spearheading that.
Well, listen, everybody did. And everybody talked about how KC was going to run the ball down their throat. Interesting quote after the game. Larry Johnson from the Chiefs said, you know what? I was even sick about how good I was going to do. So, they pounded it. And give the Colts credit, albeit for one game. I want to see it some more.
Right.
But, 47 yards. They completely shut down
you won't see that
Kansas
again.
City. Kansas City had a bad offense,
The Colts had their number.
We talked about that. They kind of backed in a little bit. They had a bad offense. Eli Manning didn't have a great game. He had 3 interceptions. but he was like 30 of 38, I believe, which is managed the game, but he had some interceptions. But the Colts defense was the whole story in that game. And
Absolutely.
And they won quite easily.
If that rushing defense doesn't do what they do, the Colts lose that game with Manning's 3 picks.
Well, and if the Colts had a defense, or if that defense that we saw could travel,
right.
For instance, next week against a good team, of course the Colts are going to be dangerous with their offense, but...
The KC loss, of course, hit home for one of our staff here at It's a Sports Show. We all went, you and I went 4-0.
You like KC too?
No, you and I went 4-0 on our picks, so I think we should give ourselves a little pat in the back there. But Frenchie went out on a limb, took KC, and lost that one. So
he went 3-1. That's not too bad.
That's okay.
You have to prove that.
Hey, we'll roll back the tape, pal. Seattle, Dallas. Of course, we saw in the opening the Tony Romo. That's what it all came down to.
Well, that was a game like we thought. It was going to go back and forth. Seattle was banged up. It's another game. That's why it's great when these analysts and experts, say what's going to happen.
By the way, let's preface this by saying, not what we claim to be, analysts or experts by any means.
But we make picks too, just like anybody can watch in the games. And Seattle's secondary was all banged up, so it's like, hey, the Cowboys, even though they're on the road, a lot of people had picked the Cowboys to win this football game.
Sure. Well, you got Tony Romo playing well, and you got Terrell Owens on your team, so how can you not do well?
And Seattle being banged up a little bit and just never had that same rhythm. I mean, these were two teams who weren't playing very well. Let's not make this game out to be like a glamour fest. But a lot of weird plays in this football game, including that drop ball by Terry Glad that went into the end zone. That was a touchdown and then became a safety. And that was
a crazy play.
And that put Seattle up by 1.
Yep.
Of course, the craziest play was the Cowboys getting a first down, being reviewed, not being a first down, which I think was the correct call. Because in live action, the linesman put the ball a lot farther ahead than I thought he had progressed to.
Sure.
So they reversed that. The Cowboys go for the field goal, which would put them up by 2. Albeit there was a minute and change to go. And our boy, Tony Romo botched the snap. And you know all about that hold. Because the Bengals had that last week.
Yeah, they didn't get into the playoffs because of that.
And it looked like he was going to score, but Jordan Babineau made it.
Great
That's
play.
an unsung play.
And something to keep in mind for those of you who are watching, he didn't need to score there.
All he needed
was
another
down
foot,
was
right?
on the 2-yard line.
Another foot, it would have been first
down. Now you got a first down.
First down, and the clock's on your side. You could have killed the clock if you didn't get in once or twice. And
Great heads-up play.
Basically would have decided the game. Oh, Jordan Babineau, that's a play that you
that's
can't
MVP
measure.
Of that
that's
game.
Not a stat, right? That's a great play. Tackled him, and Romo, of course, was so broken up. I don't know how people feel. I'm gonna tell you, but I was watching that game, and my wife was watching too. We're watching the end of it there, and we both noticed. I'm not saying that this is why he dropped the ball, but the ball looks so shiny and new, didn't it?
Oh, I've seen that on the replays.
I mean, so did you ever go to a sporting goods store and you kind of just grip the ball, and the shiny ones are cheap. They're kind of plasticky.
Right.
And then you go to like the soft leather ones, and those you get a good grip.
So who are we going to find out was in on all this?
Well, I think the kickers get brand new balls when they do it. But I mean, I'm not making excuses for Romo, but I mean, he was heartbroken. You know what? It could take him a while to get over this.
Well, I feel bad because he's a young guy, and let's not forget, he brought Dallas to the playoffs in the first place.
And there's a lot of plays in that game we could be talking about.
Right.
That directly affected that game.
That kept them in.
But the play we're going to remember, and not just for this week or next week, probably for years to come, is the Romo botched snap. So
well, when you
it's too bad for him.
When you watch like most botched plays in NFL history, that's going to be up there in the top 10 somewhere for quite some time.
No doubt about it.
It's too bad. You know what I didn't like was Tony Romo's a young guy, and we all talked about where he's brought this team on his shoulders. Not on his shoulders. That might be too much, but he's done very well in the role. Why did I not see anybody from Dallas on the sideline consoling him? He was by himself, head down, for good reason. I don't blame him. But there was no Terrell Owens.
Well,
there was no Bill Parcells.
I just think they kind of let him. Don't forget the game.
The quarterback's coach. Why? The quarterback's coach has nothing else to do at that point. The quarterback's on the sideline.
Don't forget that game was not over at that point. There was a minute change.
That even
Seattle
justifies
had the ball
it.
on the 2-yard line. If the Cowboys could have just held him there, they would have got the ball
right
around the 40, 50-yard line, maybe.
40-something seconds left.
They would have had a chance.
And no one told him that until that point came.
Well,
Somebody should have been there on the sideline with this young man, consoling him and letting him know he had to try to at least get his head back in the game again because there was a chance that he was going to be able to put something together.
The problem is, if every next play Sean Alexander takes a handoff and runs it about...
You didn't know that at the time, though.
Well,
you didn't know that at the time.
But
and nobody was there to console
T.O.
him.
consoled him after the game. So let me tell you something, if you're in sports, if T.O. is consoling you, your life is not very good at this point. All right?
Well, that was the last thing.
If T.O. is telling you to look up, things are going to be okay.
That was the last thing I wanted to talk about in summing up this game. Terrell Owens was extremely humble in the press conference after the game, to the point where it was very obvious that he wants to come back as a Dallas Cowboy, and it was very obvious that he thought there was a possibility that he might not be back as a Dallas Cowboy. Who knows at this point?
That's an interesting situation.
He said he consoled Romo, and then when talking about his lack of production, yes, I put it on me a little bit, blah, blah, blah. Not a Terrell Owens we normally see.
Well, we'll find out in the next week or two how that situation pans out. Parcells and Jerry Jones.
How do you feel, Parcells or Owens? If one or the other has to stay, who do you think that Dallas is going to keep?
Well, I'd rather keep a Parcells.
I would think so. And a lot of people seem to think that if it comes down to it, they're going to keep Jerry Jones is going to keep Owens and let Parcells go. And I don't believe that. I don't believe it in the least bit.
Parcells has done an okay job. I think
he's done fine.
The reason I'm saying that is because there's rumors of him going to other places and coach.
Right.
Primarily like my beloved Dolphins. And, Parcells, I think he should stay there, finish his career there. Been there, done that. I don't want to see Parcells anywhere else. I mean, he's just like a mercenary. Let's get to the big game.
Yes. I wanted to find a dreadlock wig because I wanted to be Asante Samuel for a day.
Did you?
To me, in that entire game, that interception right there, he was the man.
They have websites for stuff like that.
Is it called I Want to Be Asante Samuel for a Day.com?
Well, the Patriots and Jets, the big Mangini and Belichick battle.
Yep.
I watched pretty much the whole game. It was a pretty good football game until about 5 minutes to go. I mean,
right.
I thought New England controlled most of the game, but the Jets hung in there, made some big plays, and it was only a 7-point game with 6 minutes to go.
And then the Pats just took off with it.
The Pats scored. So you could say, I mean, they won handily per se, but
the score didn't really indicate how that game went.
Right.
You would think it would be a dud of a game.
It would be a Patriot blowout from beginning to end. But just a few observations on the game. I mean, the Patriots did a masterful job of fixing the blitz problems they had the last time with the Jets.
Right.
Brady was almost untouched, so he had plenty of time. They spread people out. Again, another great game plan by Belichick. Quick hits to keep the blitz off Brady. So, I think they fixed the problems from the last game where Brady was on his butt every other play. And as we saw, Brady with time, I mean, the guy just knows what to do with the football. He rarely makes a bad throw, and he just kind of diced them apart. I thought the Patriots offense, even though the defense played good, there was two aspects. The Patriots offense with their long, methodical drives, when the Jets caught up at the end of the game, or were within 7, the Patriots had like a 6-minute drive culminating with the Falk touchdown, which was a great play. Nobody was on him. They let the blitzers come in and take Falk out in the flat. And the other thing I thought was the Patriots defense put a little pressure on Pennington, but they did a great job in the red zone. Every time the Jets got close, they couldn't finish the deal. So another classic Patriot playoff performance, and you got to take your hat off.
They do what they do. That's how it always is. They do what they do.
It frustrates the heck out of you when you're a Dolphin fan because it's like, how did they do it? But they just do it.
They do it every time. A little talk about Chad Pennington. They're saying that he's got to work to be a starter next year. They're not just going to hand it to him, which was kind of surprising.
Unfortunately, with Chad Pennington, who's a very smart guy, his arm is still a big question. I mean, he gets the ball downfield, and he's very accurate, but that is a big question. I think as of right now, I don't see how he could not be the starter unless they bring somebody else in. So now, again, the Jets are in a situation where the expectations next year are going to rise now. Oh, Manginius, they call him. I think it has a lot to do with the quarterback coming back. He did a good job. I don't want to take anything away from Mangini, but they got a good young team, good offensive line. Quarterback is kind of an issue. I mean, his arm is a little bit of an issue, but
I wonder what kind of options they have at this point outside of Pennington.
And one last observation before we get to previews, which we probably should. I know I'm not a big Patriot fan, but
Not in the least bit.
I mean, Belichick comes running off the field. He punches a cameraman just about in the face, and then he hugs Mangini.
On national TV.
So I have a question. Why are you hugging him now? Is it because you won a playoff game?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And you're dancing around like
That's
Julie
exactly
Andrews
what it
and
is.
The Sound of Music?
That's exactly what it is.
I mean, the last
yes,
time it was
bitter
like,
Dolphin fan.
Here you go. Yeah, that's
That's
right.
exactly what it is.
You are green, my friend.
What did he say?
He said, I'm green with envy.
Yes.
You know? I mean, the
Yeah.
last time it was slap his hand and take off the other
Well,
way.
the last 2 times.
You
That's
know,
what happened.
Now he
both
won,
times.
so he's hugging him. Oh, Eric, I love you. I love you.
And I'm
Paul,
sure.
I got one thing to say.
Now I know where Saban gets it from. Go ahead.
Sweet home Alabama.
I forgot my hick teeth.
Well, how much time do we have left, Frenchie?
We've got plenty.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
All right, let's get.
So much for spending more time on the upcoming game.
Let's get to these. Well, that's the thing. Let's get to previews.
What do you want to talk about first?
So we got the helmets. We got to go straight to the New England
Pats Chargers.
Chargers. Give me your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, the Patriots. I like them. Basically, I think the Chargers are gonna have to rely a lot on LT, not because he's the greatest running back in the history of current NFL, but first-year quarterback Phillip Rivers. That's gonna be a lot of pressure in the playoffs. And if LT can do well and kind of open Phillip Rivers up to feel confident about some short passes, then the Chargers could put a game out for it. But the fact of the matter is, where the Patriots are strong is where I think the Chargers will end up being weak, and vice versa. So in other words, the Pats' defense, I think, is going to be able to stop Drew Brees, and I don't think LT could do it on his own in the end. Can he run up some serious yards? Yes. What?
Well, not against Drew Brees, but
Phillip Rivers, I'm sorry. I said the right quarterback. I can never make it through one
Chargers,
show.
not New Orleans.
Ew.
Stat boy, where are you? Do we have a stat boy yet?
Now, the same problem that Drew Brees will have against the Pats, I said it again, Phillip Rivers will have against the Pats defense is just the opposite for the Patriots. I think that Tom Brady is going to have no problem spreading things out. So basically, if the Patriots play good defense like they did this past week, and Brady is on target like he does every week, I don't think the Pats will have a big problem against the Chargers. Even though LaDainian Tomlinson could still have a huge day, I don't think it's going to make a difference.
I think you're kidding yourself, and I'm not speaking from an anti-Patriot standpoint here.
For
but
once.
no, I mean, I think everybody would have to admit the Chargers were probably the most consistent, dominant team in the whole league.
I agree.
They got a lot of things going from Sean Merriman, whether he's doped up or not. He's got a couple of extra injections this week. Is out of this world. I mean, they got Sean Phillips on the other side. I mean, this is a good Denver defense, solid Denver defense.
Denver.
Jeez.
See, you got my bug. You're right, it is a solid Denver defense, but they're at home
it's a very
right now.
solid charge of the defense, and,
Right.
and you're right. It'd be interesting to see what the Pats are going to do, if they can indeed spread them out or not. How they're going to keep these guys off of Tom Brady. I mean, we all know that Tom Brady, if he has time, will probably pick you apart. But even though his receivers gotten a little better, Rashae Caldwell had a decent game. Jabari Gaffney came in and caught 10 catches out of nowhere. He was probably watching cars about a month ago.
Right.
But, they're on the road. It's cross-country. The Chargers have had their number, dominated them the last 2 times.
You're right.
So, I mean, that part will be interesting. The other thing is the other side of the ball. We talked about this all season long, or past few weeks specifically. 2 big questions. And I don't care what anybody says. I've been on this for 5 years. Marty Schottenheimer in the playoffs.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
His playoff record is not very good. The last time he was in the playoffs, I believe, was in 94 or so.
He got that
against the
conservative
Jets.
touch.
Well, he had a 3rd down and change. He called the quarterback draw. Went to kick a field goal, missed it. Jets came down and scored. Those are the types of things that you can look at. Now, he's been in the playoffs or not. I think he's a very good coach.
Yeah.
Marty Schottenheimer is a very good coach.
That's a good point.
But
This is a matchup of 2 great coaches.
I think that there's 2 intangibles. Is the Marty Schottenheimer, and you mentioned Rivers.
Yeah. Now, Breeze.
Phillip Rivers, even though he's not a rookie, he's a 3rd-year player. This is his first playoff action. And Belichick, Brady, game planning versus a better football team. And I don't care what anybody says. The Chargers are a better football team. Now, are they gonna prove it on Sunday? We don't know. I mean, talent for talent, the Chargers are. I mean, I think most Patriot fans would agree, are a better football team. And you're gonna go into
Defensively too. Defensively. I just see the Pats' defense.
Well, I think defensively that they match up well. Both units.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
which is why I kind of
Patriots
give the edge to the
defensively-
Pats, because I'm into that defense wins playoff.
I mean, I don't think
games,
you'd be wrong. You're giving the Patriots the defensive edge in this game with Ty Warren up front, Seymour,
And that's what I think wins
and
it.
Wolfork are the three tough guys. If they can get those three guys, plus the Patriots linebackers heading up into those gaps, because that's what they're going to have to do, fill in all these gaps. And
Right.
let's face it, Belichick's a master at finding these things. You've got to try to contain LT. That's got to be the game plan. If they can contain him, not let him get to the outside, I think you're going to see a lot of outside contained with the Pats. You mark my words.
Big day for Teddy Bruschi, you think?
Well, they're going to try to jam that outside because once he gets outside, it's all over. Inside you can kind of maybe hold him on, but if he gets outside and he's got open field,
he can take
off.
off.
Forget about it.
I don't know. I still think, they have to certainly stop LT to an extent. They can't let him rush for 500 yards for crying out loud. But I still think if you slam Phillip Rivers into the ground and take away his passing possibilities, keep in mind, if they try to go with the passing game a little bit and he has no open receivers, even if you're not blitzing, you're eventually going to get to him. And I think that's going to be, I think if they could stop Rivers and stop the receiving game.
I think it's going to be opposite. I think you're going to stop Tomlinson first. I think if you take that away and make Phillip Rivers beat you, which is the old cliche, take
the
away
INTs
this,
will come.
You could possibly rattle him, but don't forget that they also have not only the best running back in the game, probably the best tight end in the game in Antonio
Good point.
Gates.
Yep.
So, you can blitz all you want. If you leave that middle open, Gates has burnt them in the past. So, this is a football purist matchup because you want to see what's going on. A lot of strategy involved in this football game.
It could go either way, really.
It could go either way. Hopefully it'll go Chargers' way, but it definitely could go either way. There's no doubt about it.
All right, time for picks. Pats versus Chargers. DP, what do you say?
Well, I got to go Chargers at home. I think it's a tough spot. They've had a week to rest.
Okay.
Ready for the Pats.
I'm going Pats. By the way, we're both 4-0. Let's go talk to the 3-1 man.
Yeah, Paul, you show your true colors, pal.
What do you say, Frenchie? You going with the Pats, obviously.
Yeah.
Done.
Frenchie's going with the Pats.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We got a few minutes for the other teams real quick?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, Seattle, Chicago.
Boring.
You think so? Seattle's offense with Sean Alexander and Matt
we got 2
Hasselbeck
minutes.
against the Chicago D? What's that, French?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
I think this is a Chicago blowout.
You do?
I think the second tier of games are very difficult for the teams that won this week. I think that bye week is very important. So I think Seattle's going to go into Chicago, who's been waiting for a while. I know there's questions about Rex Grossman.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago, you talked about the Giants limping in. We mentioned this last week. Chicago didn't limp in. They were in from the get-go. But now, towards the tail end, they've got Greasy playing downs because Grossman can't seem to... He did worse with his 4 rating by having a 0.
In Chicago, great D.
You think so?
Got to go Bears. Let's move on.
You have Sean Alexander, though. I mean, I can't believe that you would say...
I'm not going to change my pick. Chicago in a blowout. Mark it down. Frenchie, what do you got?
I got Chicago.
Chicago, I'm going Seattle, man. You guys are smoking. You guys are smoking something.
Philly at New Orleans.
Yes, at New Orleans. I love the New Orleans story, but you know what? This is where it all ends because my man Jeff Garcia is going to absolutely tear it
In that case,
be careful. Be careful what you say.
Double me down for New Orleans. Double down.
All right, I'm taking Philly, New Orleans for DP. Frenchie.
Oh, it's got to be New Orleans.
Oh, you guys are nuts. I'm going 8-0. Indy, Baltimore.
Now, this is a tough football game right here, but you know what?
This is one of the best offenses going against one of the best defenses.
This is right. This is brute force versus brute force. I'm going to go, this is my upset right here. I'm going to take the Colts at Baltimore.
And you considering that the upset. You think that the Baltimore D will not be able to put enough pressure on Peyton Manning?
No, I think they will put some pressure on Peyton Manning, but I don't think the Baltimore offense is that great. So I think this game is going to remain close, and Manning's Manning. So this is a good football game, but I just think the Colts can upset them in Baltimore.
I think all Baltimore has to do is concentrate on Peyton Manning, and this ball game is over. I'm going Baltimore all the way.
Wow.
Because defense wins games.
So there's going to be a big change with you next week because you're going complete opposite.
With me, it's going to be a big... Yeah, I'm going nowhere but up, baby.
Frenchie,
what do you say,
got
Frenchie?
in this one?
I go with the Baltimore Colts.
Smart man.
Well, you know what?
That's an interesting point.
It's interesting because they are playing in Baltimore, which is their origin.
Used to be.
I'm going
Big
with Baltimore.
football
What am I writing
weekend.
it down for?
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Okay, so
All right,
there
we
you
got
go.
30 seconds.
Big
30
football
seconds.
weekend. We'll
Catch us.
obviously review the championships next week.
Absolutely.
Got a little bit of Hall of Fame baseball talk, which we'll get to.
We'll
real
do that
soon, I
next
guess.
week. It's a sports show at yahoo.com. Keep those emails coming.
And don't
See us
forget
on
YouTube.
Cable 9 and Seekonk and on the Interconnect and on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and keyword search IASS and you will find us there. Thanks for watching.
YouTube.
Man, we could have gone an hour. Maybe next week we should.
19-yard field goal attempt.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we drift off in
20 minutes on last week.
Yeah.
People can be watching on